two parents attempt to navigate the hectic home life as they juggle raising 10 children from several different marriages and starting to franchise their breakfast food based restaurant. Is the synopsis of Cheaper by the Dozen 2022. Jason, what is your one sentence review of Cheaper by the Dozen 2022?
Man, I need to start wearing condoms.
Touche. My one sentence review of Cheaper by the Dozen 2022 is ain't no way, bruh. Zach Braff got with Gabrielle Union. Ain't no
Ain't
way,
no
bruh.
way. Ain't no way.
I'm gonna go and jump into this one, man. So, Cheaper by the Dozen, man, and I'm about to do something that's gonna make myself mad, but a lot of people mad. We gotta stop with this wokeness, man. We gotta stop with this wokeness. I like representation. The representation's in here. Cool. If you want to make me believe that she fell for Zach Braff because the other husband she had before was balling too much, it was like, oh, I need to step down to some average man life.
To some ordinary man.
Right. But I'm gonna keep a little privilege in this. So make him white. Like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go in. But the wokeness in this movie is so heavy. It's so heavy that they forget to even show you the issues that they having. So they literally have a lot of issues at the end of this movie that the audience as a viewer, we never saw. We never saw 90% of the issues they have in this movie. So to rewind this for you guys, the husband, Zach Braff's character, does the breakfast shop. Him and Gabrielle Union run it together. She gets a degree in marketing and they're making good money. They're building a business. And he has this sauce that's so amazing that people come in and want to buy it off of him and brand it and make it huge. And they do. And they make some good money off of it. Great. They move it to a bigger place. More money, more problems. I'm with you. But then that's where the movie goes real weird. So where it goes weird for me is that Gabrielle Union's ex-husband was an NFL football player. Who was like a big, like three, yeah. They were saying he was like a 3-time MVP, and like he was like a dope, like he's gonna be an all-time great one. And they actually have him like pushing stuff and blah blah blah. So she understands what it takes to be excellent and the ambition that it takes to be great. It almost feels like in this movie that Gabrielle Union don't really want Zach Braff to be great. Which we know ain't no black woman never, ever been in a situation where they man and been like, nah, I don't want you to be great. I want you just to stay here, be humble, and we just work out this little breakfast spot we got.
It doesn't matter that we're a month behind on rent. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter to her.
It's fine. We're just gonna keep working this out.
Yeah.
But then on the flip, though, Zach Braff went from a restaurant that looked like he was doing okay, maybe, to getting with his wife that's made it a lot bigger, made the menu breakfast only, and did a lot of great things for him. But yet, now that he's getting bigger, is forgetting to say, hey, maybe I should include my wife, who pretty much made my business great for me in these decisions that are going on. Because, without her, I'll still be running a crappy-ass restaurant that was serving lunch and breakfast and other stupid stuff that nobody cared about when my restaurant was empty. Look, guys, and when I go with the woke stuff, they set up these things of like, Gabrielle Union's character's getting followed because they moved to Calabasas, guys. That's the part. They moved to Calabasas.
I don't know where that is. House. I'm assuming that's off road out here.
Yeah. It's the real. Kanye West and Kim Kardashian live in Calabasas.
Okay.
Give you whatever. Yeah. So
they must have been really rich.
Yeah. They made a lot of money off selling that. So yeah, they move out to Calabasas, and they talk about how the mom is getting followed every time she leaves to go places. We never see this. They talk about how the kids is being bullied and stuff like that. Yeah, we see some kind of comments, but really I wouldn't call it bullying, and I would call it just kids being jerks. But okay,
and nobody got that
angle. It's an angle with the nephew, and they try to play it up to be like, oh, because Gabrielle Union is black, her kids must be black. So these break-ins in the neighborhood must be by the black nephew she has, because the white people never saw her nephew, who was white. So they just assume that like her nephew was black because she called him, oh, our nephew's living with us and he's had some troubles in the past. And so they assumed he was black. And so when it was break-ins going, but hold on, we never see the break-ins. We get a comment about it being resolved, but never really like a final kind of. It's a lot of mess in this show, and it's all put in here because they just want to be woke. They want you to show like, look, racism, it still exists, but we can overcome it with family love. and with all this other shit. And I'm like, no. Like, it's at one point where the Gabriel Union's husband comes back and he's upset because his daughter did a bad thing, and he's like reaming on Zach Braff about like how is he parenting his black kids, and it's like, whoa, brother, you was out being an NFL star when I was raising your kids. Now Zach Braff doesn't say this, but in my mind, I'm watching. It's like, how you gonna tell me I'm a bad parent when you wasn't a parent at all? Like,
and you also 2 months late on child support.
Right? I'm gonna let Jay say that for his review because he made a good point. I didn't think about it. But then the only good part about this whole movie that I really, really thoroughly enjoyed was it is a part with the black father and Zach Braff, the white father. We're having a conversation about the kids and about being black in America. And it's a conversation you've seen and heard generic a million times. But the part of it I love about it was that when he talks about, what it's like to be black in America, Zach Braff makes a comment that like, hey, I'm raising black children too. Yes, he was talking about they have some mixed kids of their own, but also he's talking about his kids as well.
Yeah.
But also when he goes into like the, you don't understand what it's like, Zach Braff was like, yeah, you're right, I don't. It was a very good conversation to say like, hey, look, at the end of the day, like raising the kid is raising the kid. It is going to be some racial differences that has to be addressed and understood. But at the end of the day, like you can still raise children and get them ready for the world without it being like, nah, he got to live with me now because he got to understand what the blackness is about. That's what it felt like. And I'm like,
I got to go.
No, he don't. No,
I got to go get him on I'm called Quest now. And
right.
You listen to that white music.
And so that's like one of the other issues that too. It was like, they gave us a good father. At least the father wasn't drug addict or a gangster or like some hustler. Like he was a successful man or whatever, but he still was an absentee father. When we gonna get black fathers being legitimate in these movies, man? Like could he have been an NFL star and still been good with his kids and knew what his kids like? Like, could that be possible? Like just that our marriage didn't work out, but I'm still a great father. No, it was like, oh, hey, their marriage didn't work out, and he's kind of a crappy father too. Like why? Like I don't. It bothered me, and I know it wasn't Disney's intention to do that, but it was just a lot of woke BS in here that I'm like, it didn't need to be in here, man. It could have just either, if you're gonna go with this racial thing in the movie, make that what the movie is about. If you're not gonna go into it heavily, then you need to switch lanes and make it about the kids and making like just fun, goofy stuff, which the movie did start off like fun, goofy stuff, kid shenanigans, and the parents having to handle these wild and crazy kids. Like, you should have just kept it there and kept it moving, man. Like it. Yeah, man. I'm gonna let you have the rest on that, Jason. I ain't with it.
Can I get my time?
Yeah. Go ahead, man. I done went on too
far. Yeah, this movie, much like the previous movie for me, was it's here. I don't know who asked for this, but it's here. I definitely have to agree with Jason on some of these points. There was definitely some points where they were like, "Hey, we hate it here," and it's like, y'all didn't show that y'all hated it here. Like the oldest daughter was like the only person that really like had a real detrimental like transition from their old school to their new school, and everybody else is, it seems, because some of these characters are barely, or some of these kids are barely even characters. Like why y'all even here? Y'all could have been like completely written out. But for the most part, this is a non-offensive, and that's probably why a lot of this the more progressive stuff doesn't work, because there's nothing offensively there to offend them, right? Like, the security guard when they're moving in rolls up and says, "Hey, no loud music after 10 o'clock." Okay, yeah. If we did see him follow her around every single time, that would be something to comment on.
Also, side note, real quick, like, is that a stereotype for black people that we play music loud after 10 o'clock? Because even when he did it, I didn't look at it as racist at first. I was like, oh, maybe he's just telling her that because it's a quiet neighborhood.
And then she goes, do you tell everybody that? And he's probably, I would hope so. Maybe, I don't know.
Right. So okay, but go ahead.
The real racist stuff that to me was the other lady, the Karen type lady, who was like, "Oh, are you the nanny?" Or like, who's like, even though those kids are black as hell, like when it's like, obviously she's not the nanny, obviously they're the mom, they black, like look at them, like, but she doesn't complain about her at all. She
right.
She complains about, like, they complain about the security guard. So there's like, things in here that just like it doesn't match up to how the family resolves all their issues because there really weren't any issues to begin with, other than the fact that Zach Braff wasn't there because he's too busy trying to make his dreams come true, which is like I guess a really weird um, message to say. Is like, hey, you know, don't work hard to make your dreams come true. Sometimes you got to make some sacrifices. Your dreams come true, but you have a lot of kids. Don't make those sacrifices. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Because y'all were able to move from this smaller house to this big ass house and would like with down payment and buy everybody and have all the rooms set up and shit. So obviously y'all made a lot of money off of this shit. And then at the end he's gonna be like, oh I don't want to do this no more. And like everybody's like, okay, like that's not how the world works. They were like, nah, not only do y'all owe us that money back, but we own all y'all shit, and you owe us even more money for going up because we haven't even charged you for the shit that we already did. So you now in negative $500 million debt. So that house that you already had, we want that too. Y'all on the street, have a good life. But there are some things that I did like about this movie. I did like the fact that both the dad and the mom from the previous relationships were not complete adversaries to them. In fact, the mom, Zach Braff's ex-wife, comes and watches his kids with her because they're all the whole family. And I thought that was nice because in a lot of like, especially in the era that I grew up in, a lot of movies always plan either the previous relationship, the person is dead, so that's why so
Yeah.
they never speak of that person ever again, or they are the antagonist. They are out to get somebody. They are the bad guy. And for especially coming from a blended family like myself and having a blended family, it's nice to see the representation because honestly, that shit is toxic. We need to get rid of that. We broke up. Now I hate your gut shit because that shit is toxic as fuck. And the only person that hurts is your kids. And I like the fact that in this movie they showed, they were annoyed with their exes after, sometimes, but they were like, we are all family. We need to all solve this together because we are all family. And I think that's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, but you say that, but the only real toxic person in there was the black man.
Yeah, only real
Like,
toxic
let's
person.
keep, yeah,
You
like,
right.
he was the only one
You
that
right.
was throwing barbs, and like everybody else was coping. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. He was over there, being real straight, like disrespectful to these people. And it's like, yo, I mean, we ain't all perfect. I guess we
Right.
ain't, but you try to make this like, you make the only person who's like, look at this nice little tiny house you got there. This is so sweet. Like, look at you. Like, if you rich, take your kids, man. Go in that big house. I don't know what you're doing. But other than that, I fairly enjoy this movie. There is enough. Let me get to another. None of these kids in this movie know how to act. Not one of them. There was one point where you could definitely tell that one of the kids was looking off to the camera to their handler, and the handler was like miming what they were supposed to do, and that kid was just straight looking at that person. And like, not even the older kids, ain't none of these kids know how to act. Like, if you're looking for some fine kid thespians, this is not your movie. This completely,
especially the nephew.
Yeah,
Ooh,
the
the
nephew
nephew
is
was
like
god awful.
no, like, is he like a producer's kid or something? Like, oh, you want to be this movie? Like, did they just pick him up from high school or something? Because he has nothing, no personality, nothing going on for him. And you're supposed to believe like he's from a bad neighborhood or something like that. Nothing. But I enjoyed it. Me and my kids sat there and watched it. It was we were laughing. It was goofy. It was silly. It was stupid. It was corny at plenty times, but it's there.
Yeah, and I know everybody like, oh, JC was harsh on it. My rating is going to be better than how harsh I was on it. But I just did think of one moment too to encapsulate my biggest issue with this movie. Because again, I think it's like a lot of wokeness to be woke. But if, like you said, if you're going to be woke, you got to be kind of make people uncomfortable if you're going to go that far to be woke. But it's a part in there where the kids are playing with a gun. Like, as you can see, it's a toy gun. And they're shooting each other. And she's like, Gary is like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're playing. And they're like, no, that's an inside toy. You can't play with that outside. And they're like, why not? And she's like, well, because like it's dangerous what you guys playing with it outside. We need to make sure we always play with it inside. And they're like, oh, but we want to take it with us to the pool. And she's like, nah, we can't do it, blah, blah. So they take it in. And the very next scene goes to these white kids at the pool with those same guns playing with it. And then they show the Gabrielle Unions and them kids sitting by the water like bummed out. Now this is the point I'm saying. At that point, it should have been a conversation of them being like, well, how come they get to go, blah, 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 but we can't, and you said it was bad or dangerous for this, but and then you could have this woke conversation about real life, about kids with guns that are fake being killed. Jameer Rice, anybody? Um, that's the
You
moment
could
there.
actually like,
But you
yeah,
but you don't do it all. They just show
they
that
go,
scene,
they do the
show
half
them.
step.
Yeah, they show this scene of the white kids doing it, show the other kids bummed out, and then they go to Gabrielle Union talking about whatever parenting thing, whatever. Like, it's no addressing of it, and that is encompassing this whole movie. It's a lot of things they throw out there that they don't address, and I'm like, oh well, I don't want Disney teaching. That's fine, but don't put it in the movie then. That's my point is, if you're gonna put the white woke stuff in there, you're not gonna go the whole mile. Don't put it in the movie. Just leave it alone, because now it becomes a point of like, well, that's just a bad movie decision. Period.
So for me, that particular scene definitely stuck out for me, but it's only because it was a teaching experience to my child. So like I
Right.
paused the movie at that point and like I explained to them that's what my mom used to do with us. Like we couldn't go outside with no guns and nothing like that because she
Right.
was afraid we were gonna get shot. And I was like, well, I didn't say that much, but I let him determine why she didn't. I was like, why do you think she's not letting these kids go out there? He's like, oh, she don't want to get shot. I'm like, yep, all right, cool. Let's go on to the rest of the movie. So it was fun for me because I made that into a learning experience for my child. But like you're right, like if she says it, but she doesn't like they don't show why. She doesn't say why. You're just supposed to like accept that she says that, and then the very next scene they show like, oh yeah, the white kids are doing it, but the black kids don't get to do it. But we're not told why. Like we're not,
Right.
you're not explained to the what the actual tragedy of that could happen. Like, yo, you can't play with this because you're going to be seen as a threat versus they're going to be seen as kids playing. So
Right.
that's, I mean, like they do a half step. They say, oh, this is bad, or this is like the way that life is, but they don't show why she would do something like that. And that's definitely a tragedy in the movie.
Yeah, and that's all through. Like I said, it's a lot of
Yeah.
telling but not showing, or a lot of like, we're going to say something about it, but we're not going to elaborate on why it's important or
Yeah.
not. Again, it's a part with the whole marketing thing between them. It's a lot of moments in here that, like, if done correctly, it doesn't take a whole big conversation. It just takes one or two lines. Like, you pause it, gave one or two lines to your son, and you were back to the movie. The movie could have done the exact same thing, and it would have been like,
What
okay,
have
whatever.
benefited this movie the most was not being on Disneyplus and not being owned by Disney. Because there
True,
is
true.
definitely a lot here that is a lot to like, but they just don't take it far enough to make this truly something that could be relevant to either white people or black people. They just do the half measures, and that's unfortunate because they're not trying to offend anybody. Like
Right,
that's the thing.
right.
It's completely unoffensive. So
And I will tell you, when movies like this will be respected, when that lead is a black man, and I mean a dark skinned black man, and it's a white blonde woman as the woman, then we know
this
we've
should
made progress. Like, what was the I can't think of the movie with Anna Faris, and it was a remake, Overboard, the remake of Overboard. I respected it. It was terrible, but I respected it because it was a Latino man with this white woman, and they let it be
what?
real. And I was like, wow, you gonna let them do this? And then I was like, oh, well, they're probably gonna like whitewash the white dude, the Latino dude's culture. Nah, like they straight had him like working construction with Latinos and like craziness. And I was like, oh, they're gonna lean into this, huh? So, but Cheaper by the Dozen is one of those things. So I always bring up the whole thing. I always tell people, when did we ever see the reverse of this? When did we ever see the black man with a white woman? I'm not saying I'm trying to push that on it, but I'm saying like it's always the black woman gets to be like in the interracial relationship with the kissing and hugging and blah blah blah. The black man, when you do see it, they barely or rarely ever intimate.
Well, they're
Like
going to be
you may
with
get a hug.
light skinned people, period, because
Yeah,
colorism is a thing. But they're never going to be really with a white woman. And if they are, yeah, you get a hug. You might get a very demure kiss, but you're not going to get anything beyond that. And that is a shame. Not that it's better for white black dudes to be with white women, especially for two guys with biracial children. We're not
right.
saying that,
We're
but
just saying that if you're pushing diversity, then I want
yeah,
to see that diversity in it. And I feel the same way about Asian men.
yeah.
I want to see
Oh,
it when
Asian
that
men never
Asian
get any.
man is
Never
with
do.
a sister or Asian man
Or
is with a white
anybody
woman.
that's
Like,
not other than an Asian woman.
yeah, yes, yeah. Because they treat Asian men like they're the most undesirable men on this planet. Like they
Yeah.
just play them like if you can't do kung fu, then you ain't got nothing for us. You can't do
I mean,
kung fu or can't do a black scent, you out.
and
But
I mean, have you seen Daniel Day Kim? I mean, I'm just saying. Have you seen it? Like, I don't my door don't swing in that direction. But if Daniel Day Kim was right here, we don't know
look,
what would happen.
there's the reason why Crazy Rich Asian made a lot of that money. It wasn't all
Yeah.
because of the Asian audience. Some woman was like, "Hold on, he Asian and he fine like that? Okay."
Henry Goulding. Have you seen
Yeah.
the guy? Have you seen him? No, I guess
all right. Well,
there was that movie where he was the ghost with Khaleesi. He was a ghost.
oh, for
It
real?
was some dumb Christmas movie where they
Oh,
try
I
to make
never
it sure
saw it.
but that's also a whole nother thing because he was a ghost, so he can't get with her at the end. Like he's a fucking ghost.
They made sure he couldn't even touch her. Like, you a ghost now. You don't even touch this shit. All right. Cheaper by the Dozen, 2022. Jason, what is your rating for this movie?
I'm just gonna give it a 3. Yeah, there is definitely some problems with it, but I was enjoying myself. I had some learning moments so I can have with my child, so that's always fun. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2. I needed some payoffs and some, just something. It didn't give it to me, but I will say this: my kids were watching it as I was watching it, and they were getting ready for bed because it was getting that time. They were truly into it, so that's the only
Yeah,
reason it gets a 2. Because I would have gave it a 1, but they were really into it. So all the things that I have issues with, definitely that's not even on their radar. They just see a funny movie with kids that look like them having fun and doing wild stuff. So,
the little race at the beginning, completely like
oh,
I don't
great.
know how they got away with that. I don't know why no kids got beaten. Like I don't know how they get away with that.
Hey, look, that was probably one of the best parts of the whole movie.
There should have been more of that movie where you just saw the kids just
Yes.
wilding out and just doing some crazy shit. Like the only other crazy shit the kids did was like the girl took the keys. Like, yo, you are a heavy fucking sleeper for having all them damn kids.
Yeah, that's break speed off mode right there.
Yeah.
So, but guys, like we said before, always remember one. I did it this time, Jason. I made
Oh,
sure I
you got
got
a
it. One.
can.
Yeah. Make sure you get that nerd focus in you. Again, a link will be in the description. Go and get you a case. I'm up here. I got the sugar-free, 0-calorie one that I'm showing everybody. The blue
It's
can.
delicious.
All right. And then as always, make sure you check that out. And then let's say you broke. Let's say like you balling on a budget like me and Jason. You out here doing your thing, working every day, but you're like, man, in word for nerd, head cannon circus. I would love to support you guys at Nerd Focus because I enjoy energy drinks too. But I'd rather just get mine at the dollar, a little cheaper at the dollar store or at the gas station. I ain't balling like that. And I'm like,
My child
hey, no
support payment
worries.
ain't come in yet.
Right. No worries. We ain't mad at you. We get it. We live in the same lifestyle. But know what you can do to help us out then? Just share. Share the content, man.
Like,
Jason
share,
likes to say it.
subscribe.
Sharing is caring. Yeah, share. Sharing is caring. Like, share, subscribe. If you want to choose just one out of the 3, share it to people. But if you want to follow us and come and kick it with us more often, subscribe as always. But by all
Look,
means, man, like I said, that's the easiest way that you can help us is just getting the show out there for the masses.